You are listening to Peak One Sports.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Sports Page on the Peak One Sports Network. Hello, everybody. I am Ashton Nix, joined with me, as always, Chris Robb. What's going on, Chris?
Oh, nothing much, man. How you doing?
We're just getting ready for this Rangers game here, and I guess, well, as we're recording this, it's a couple hours, but this is essentially the unofficial Rangers World Series pregame show for Peak One Sports. I guess you could say once this is posted, everyone's be watching it from 6 to however long we go, so it'd be right before the game starts. And that, as the last few episodes, that's all we're going to talk about because I think last week, Wednesday of last week, that was before the World Series started because it started Friday.
Yeah, so, I think they had just clinched, if I'm not, and we were waiting on the winner between.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because by they were playing Game 7 of the NLCS while we were recording. Yep. So yeah, a lot has changed from week to week, and this will be our last episode while the World Series is going on, one way or the other. But it's exciting that we can talk about this potential World Series clinching Game 5 for the Rangers, as they're obviously up 3-1.
Yep. Yeah, this is, it's been a long road. It's been a long season, and I'm just hoping that they close it out, man. It'll be a great one for the city. Haven't had a championship in the city since 2011.
Yeah. I have no idea where I'll be emotionally if they win, or when they win, if they win at all. But if they win tonight, the only other times I can remember the Longhorns winning in 2006. I was in high school, so I mean, I felt emotional then. The Mavericks, of course, winning it, but it feels like, I mean, I've grown so much as a sports fan, and obviously now being on podcast, radio, whatever, talking sports, that's 12 years extra fandom, and going through 2010 and 2011 and even 2015 and 2016, because those were, obviously the Rangers didn't go so deep, but emotional games, because those years you weren't really expected to make the playoffs. And then the whole thing with Batista, and the controversy when Shin-Soo Choo, I think he was batting, and the pitcher was throwing the ball back, it hit his bat, and we scored a run from third. All that business, all that craziness. I know it was just the ALDS, but we've gone a long way from winning or losing 100 plus games a couple of years ago to now being up 3-1. It has a different feeling in 2011, because 2011 you were up 3-2.
Yeah. With 1 out left.
You were definitely a lot closer to winning.
You were up 3-2, and then being on the road, and you had to win had to win one on the road, and
this team would, I would feel confident about.
I feel like 10-0 10-0 on the road. I feel like they could get it done, but and that's also a feeling of mine. It's the longest road win streak of all time. So as far as like postseason, so
it's the longest road winning streak in Rangers history, postseason, regular season, anything. So that's pretty crazy that it's happened like that. In 2011 you were definitely closer to winning it, obviously being one strike multiple times. But this year, like, I have to keep telling myself if instead of win, because you are, you're up 3-1. They've only lost that lead 6 times, where you've had a 3-1 lead in the World Series. Obviously it's happened a few more times, and I guess in the CSs. And I'm not worried about jinxing or doing anything like that. I have no stake in the game, or I'm obviously a fan, but I have, I'm just a podcaster / radio host. I don't, before people start saying, hey, you're going to jinx it. Like, no, if I had that much control over a team
Yeah, I think
winning. I
about that
mean,
too.
Cowboys would have won a few Super Bowls, and
Right.
Rangers
Yeah.
would have
Just
won in
say the count. Yeah.
2011. But I feel like because you're up 3-1 after just that smackdown you just gave to the Diamondbacks, although your bullpen felt like it almost. I mean, I know you still won by 4 runs, but it felt like your bullpen was giving that up. I just feel really confident. Like, you just have to win one of the next 3. Although
next 3.
you do have you do have the pitching matchup benefit today. In Uvalde, Game 6. Yeah, I'd probably have to give it to Arizona. When Montgomery struggled last time. In Game 7, who knows? And if you get to a Game 7, Arizona has all the momentum. So it seems like just do it tonight. I'd love to see.
At home.
I'd love to see it at home. I know Game 6 and 7 are on Friday and Saturdays, where you could stay up. Who cares? Because they win tonight. I have to wake up really early. I'm leaving for a quick work trip to Houston tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm waking up at like 3:30. I've already made a deal with my brother that if they win tonight, we're gonna go wait in line at Academy at whatever time they open. Because I was like, I'm not gonna sleep. I'm probably not gonna sleep anyways.
When the Mavs won. Yeah, when the Mavs won, that's totally like I don't know how I would feel. I'm obviously be extremely excited.
Yeah.
I think I was at that particular time. I was just such a huge Mavs fan, and you watch every year them lose. They lose to the Heat in 06, and then before that they were battling with the Kings and the Spurs, and then after that they were those first round exits with the Hornets, and who else did they? Oh, and they lost to Denver in the second round, but
there's a Houston. They lost to Houston one time in there.
Yeah, so it was just like the roller coaster, and me being such a huge Dirk fan, I was just kind of like riding with him. I actually went on strike with the Rangers for about 2 years after they lost to St. Louis, because I was just like, I was young, and I was just like, we just can't get it done. I was just so upset, but ended up coming back, obviously. But I would just for the city alone, I feel like it would just be a great thing, because teams have been struggling. I know. Well, the Stars have been pretty good. The Cowboys have been pretty solid. The Mavs, they were in the West Finals 2 years ago. But for a team to actually get over the hump and get that championship, I'm definitely excited to see the city and the parade. I'm gonna try to come back down for the parade, and that'll be a fun time.
Yeah, for sure. And like I had mentioned earlier, I feel like I've grown as a sports fan. I mean, obviously I have. It's been 12 years since the Mavs won. But I feel like I don't remember a lot. I mean, I obviously remember in 2006 when they lost, but I'm trying to I remember the teams, but I can't remember the games in my head. Almost.
2006 or 11?
No. Neither 2000. I remember 2006 and 11. But yeah, I remember the losing to the Spurs, the Kings. I remember the teams. I just can't put the games in my head. Now, obviously, it was longer ago.
The next year they won 67 games and then lost to the Warriors the first round.
Yeah, Dirk won the MVP, and but I can picture, like I was mentioning, the deal with Shin Chu and the Blue Jays and all that. Of course, that was 5 years more recent, but I just feel like I remember games in 2010, 2011. 2010, I went to more games in my life in one season. I think I went to 15 games.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I bought tickets to one game, and then I bought tickets to another game early on, and then I started just getting these coupon codes, like 50% off. So I would just buy it, and then I get the code again, and I'd buy it again. So I think, because I was there when they won the division. No, they'd won the division on the road, but I had bought tickets for that first game back, but they won the game before. But we were there for the game where they introduced them as the 2010 West Division champions. The first home game then, it was in the outfield, but it was like right field row 2, and I'd gotten them for like $10 a ticket. I mean, back when Rangers tickets were
I've sat there before.
affordable.
I remember I went to, they were really affordable then. I went to the Yankees game and I sat about where you were talking about. So, and we got those for like $30. So yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and then a couple of times I sat in the home run porch, the all-you-can-eat seats, which they still do have in the new stadium. Which for me, they were worth it. We just ate the whole game. But yeah, I feel like I want to say a better fan or more of a fan of the Rangers now than I was of the Mavs then, because obviously over a decade has passed. Of course, I'm more ingrained, but if I feel more confident about it, obviously, because they're up 3-1. They still have to win a game. You still have 27 outs to get, but I think this might be more devastating if they lose.
If
Of
they
course,
lose,
it'd be recency bias.
oh yeah,
But being
absolutely,
up
yeah.
3-1, breaking all kinds of records, Garcia breaking the RBI record, Seager breaking walks record in a game, 10 straight road wins in the playoffs. Just there's a couple
and for them
more.
to get the win, and for them to get the win without Garcia, it was kind of like a,
Yeah.
I don't want to say like a destined sort of thing, but it was just like, oh, if they can, get a win without him, they can pull it off. Because when I got the news him and Scherzer were out, I was like, oh, it's kind of one of those Dallas sports things. But
and
it feels
Janikowski
like they can
comes
get over
in,
that.
gets a couple of hits, RBIs, makes a
2 for 4, yeah.
a ridiculous catch and an out. Him and Simeon get tripped up. But yeah, they score 10 runs in 3 innings with no Garcia. Yeah, I'm trying not to get too big ahead.
Yeah.
Because
what would you rather have? What would you rather have them go up early like they did last night, or like a good game and they pull it off?
I mean, for sure. I mean, if you told me they were going to win the World Series, I would say give me a good game. Of course, I would say, hey, let's lose this game and win it. Like if I knew we were going to win the World Series, let's win it at home. But that's why I'd say just go ahead and win it, just so there's no doubt, because you lose tonight, that puts a doubt in their head. You go, and then there's a more favorable pitching matchup for Arizona, and then if they can somehow win that game, then they have all the momentum, and let's just put it out. But yeah, I'd rather them get ahead. But even last night with 10 runs, it was so early, I wasn't really all that comfortable with it. And then obviously they got it back within 4. I think that was the 8th inning, and then I'm like, here we go. Luckily,
that might have been the last inning, because they hit. I think they had like six runs or something like that in the 9th inning. But no, it almost felt like, you remember Game 7 with the Mavs when they played the Suns a couple years ago?
Yeah. Oh yeah, and they just demoralized them
40 at halftime. It was kind of felt like that, where I was like, oh well, I mean, it doesn't feel like Game 7 anymore, but it was kind of one of those things. I personally would want them to just kind of put their foot on their neck and just close it out. But I also love a great game, because you remember those moments. You remember where you were. And
you remember the just last year, the Luka game where he scored 60 or whatever, but he missed the free throw, grabbed it, and shot it in or whatever.
Against the Knicks.
Yeah, and of course you'd rather it not be that close. Like I would rather, this isn't a legendary matchup. You've already seen the ratings are the lowest ever. So like, yeah, a great game. Ideally, if you could tell me we were going to win, I would say let's go to Game 7 and just have an outrageously back and forth great game, but I don't want to be put through that, honestly. I mean, when you're up 3-1, of course they're playing with house money. This is they're technically still in a rebuild, and things are just working out with some of their young players. Where the goal was just get into the playoffs, improve, get in the playoffs, get some playoff experience for your younger guys. And then every step of the way, we're like, yeah, it's a successful season. They're playing with house money, but in this position to lose it, if you were playing, no knock against the Diamondbacks. I mean, they're a great team that took out the Dodgers, the Brewers, the Phillies.
Yeah, I was about to say, but if it was against the Dodgers, it would mean, like I see what you're saying. It would feel a little different.
Yeah. And I mean, I feel, maybe I'm biased. This is an all-time playoff run. You're talking about the Mavericks had an all-time playoff run.
It has to be,
I know it's just the Dodgers, but again, what I just mentioned, they beat all those teams, but you beat
You swept the
you swept the
Rays.
Royals and the the Rays and the Orioles.
The
Orioles being the best team in the AL, the Rays for the most of the year being the best team, and then they saw the second best record. You take out the defending champions.
On the road.
On the road, you have this incredible road streak. I mean, this is an all-time great run. Yeah, you'd like it to be capped off like, hey, beat the Atlanta Braves or something. But if they were playing the Braves or maybe the Dodgers or something, I may not feel as confident about being up 3-1 because
they can win 3 straight.
You saw them play Arizona, and outside of that one game that Arizona won, I felt confident with how they played. They've matched up well. I feel like if they were playing the Dodgers or the Braves and then or even the Phillies and they were doing this, it's like, okay, you're kind of playing with luck here. Like I would not feel confident, and I don't really feel a ton confident, but it's like they should win. They're close enough, and I feel confident enough to saying if they lose, it's going to be an embarrassment, a travesty. It's going to be very, very painful. It's not like, of course, if they lost, if it was a great series back and forth, it was game 7, it was going to be painful, but you're like, hey, that was a great series. There's going to be a lot of angry fans, I feel like,
for sure,
if they end up losing this and choking it away, because you could say a game 7 back and forth series, nobody choked anything away. It was a great series. It was a great season. But when you get up 3-1,
lose it at home,
what you think is an inferior team, you've won more games than them, to what you've had, and you should win, and you lose it, and then you even lose it at home. I think that would just be terrible. It's worrying me now that I'm talking about it. I'm second guessing myself. Like
I was thinking about I've been sitting here just thinking about all the possibilities of just like, go up 3-1 and then just lose it, and then
because this is our last.
And then you would lose it on the at home, and then because I would say the AL is wide open, but I feel like Houston, they just lost Dusty Baker, so they still might they probably will take a dip a little bit.
It for sure feels like, I'm not gonna say dynasty or anything crazy like that, but it feels like you should be contending. This isn't like out of nowhere. Well, it kind of is, but it's not like out of nowhere they got their one championship and next year they're going to be under 500.
They'll definitely be like back, at least in the playoffs. I just I'm this type of person. Well, the fan that would want the team to just get it done. Like no playing around. We like the Mavs the second time. When they were up 3-2 and they went to Miami and they closed it out on the road. You don't want that game 7, and you don't want that that added pressure, because I feel like that obviously it will go into the favor of Arizona. So just close it out. Get the first one ever for the franchise, and then you can build on more.
Yeah, this is the last, at least for me, of all the major teams I cheer for. This is the last team that doesn't have a championship. Although, I really wasn't a big Stars fan in '99 when they won the Cup, but I was really excited last year. I was excited in 2020. So this will be the last one. This will be the championship, the first championship. No matter if if they win 10 more, then ever win another one, this is the year you look back on. And this is a great team. You've seen it; they've been very resilient. I believe that they're going to come back next year and for years to come as playoff contenders every year, because it's not a situation where everything just went right and you didn't, I think it was 2016 or 2015 when they came out of nowhere and made the playoffs. They had an incredible record for one run wins. And they say that's just not sustainable. That's just something you can't rely on. And it's not that kind of season, because you haven't even had a healthy season. You've had DeGrom go down, Scherzer go down, Seager go down multiple times, Young's gone down. You've all these gone down. Garcia's now gone down, but they've been relentless, and you still have, we'll see what Scherzer is after this year. You get DeGrom back late in the year, but you still have Seager and Simeon, who are, they're not old now. They're not going to be old for a couple of years.
Exactly,
You're going to have to, but you have young players that are turning out to be. Garcia was a steal. Heim looks like he was a steal.
Yeah.
You have,
Evan Carter.
Evan Carter and Josh Young. Although we saw this coming, we didn't expect them to come and just be great all of a sudden. So and you have a team where you can look forward
years left of just great baseball to play. So
exactly. Definitely. You don't go 1 year thinking, okay, they could make the playoffs, win a World Series, and just because they won a World Series, they're like, oh yeah, you should win. No, this team got on good runs, bad runs, and then come out and pull themselves out. Because you see the Pirates started off great, and then they lost it. They lost it in the end. The Rays, to an extent, they led baseball all year.
Seattle had a little run.
The Seattle had a run, and then they ended up losing. The Rangers had runs. They were in first place. They lost the division, but they squeaked into the playoffs, and then they were able to overcome it. So we can talk about contracts and everything off season. I know Montgomery, you have to re-sign him, and there's a few others you have to re-sign. But I think you have a good 3-4 year run, and that's if ownership doesn't want to spend even more money. Maybe they just want to keep going all in. No doubt about it. This is a bought championship. This will be a bought championship, and that's fine. Yankees and Dodgers do it.
Exactly. Yeah, and Rangers fans have been clamoring for years for them to spend money. It almost was like they were like saving it, or they weren't spending it at all.
Yeah, because they're a top.
They were never in the running for like big free agents. They were,
they were always like there were rumors, and then they would never pan out.
Especially with Clayton Kershaw and it was will he come back home? But it never happened.
They were getting the superstars after their prime. You did like Vladimir Guerrero came here. Lance Berkman came here. Even with Beltre, although Beltre still had a lot in his tank.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous, but that's what they would sign, and it was they were obviously weren't to the level of the A's, but there was say, hey, you're a top 5 market. This isn't a small market. I mean, Texas Rangers is not a big market team, or I mean, it is, but it doesn't sound like a big market team. But it's in Dallas-Fort Worth. It's the 4th biggest metro and market in the country, and their spending is like middle of the road most years, or had been up until the last couple of years. Top 5 market teams should be spending top 5 money, and now they are. The last 2 years they spent more money than anybody. $500 million invested in this franchise, and it looks like it's going to come this year, and we'll see. I couldn't imagine.
And that's just the game of baseball. That's just how it is now. Like
that's how baseball go. In the words of Ron Washington.
Like at this particular era, like you need those stars. Like great teams have won, obviously, but you need those stars. Especially like I'm trying to think of the year when it started. Probably like 2017, 16 on. You feel like teams were spending money and making those big moves, and that was when the Rangers just they weren't doing that. And now they did it, and this run came a little earlier than everybody thought, but it's all coming to fruition, and you would just hope they cash out on all the money that they spent.
Yeah, and really this has only been a rebuild for a couple of years. They haven't been to the playoffs, but John Daniels had been making moves where they would buy. They're not huge moves and bring in superstars like Cliff Lee and names like that, but they obviously weren't sellers at the trade deadline up until 2020, and they were trying to make moves. They just couldn't get it all together with injuries or whatever. So really, I think they made the decision in 2020 to, all right, let's sell and figure out what we can do here. And so they've been able to do this, and they've spent a ton of money in this rebuild. I'm pretty sure, they had the 1 year, and then they came with Corey Seager and Marcus Semien, lose 100+ games. Then last year they improved. So really, you're like in the 3rd year of this rebuild.
Yeah.
1 game away from winning a World Series. And it looks promising from here on. I mean, obviously with all the success, it's easy to look forward and say, oh yeah, Jonah Heim, who we didn't think was going to be an all-star, is going to stay at that level. You don't know. Evan Carter's been a very small sample size. You don't know. Josh Young, you've seen a full season. Well, kind of a full season. He was hurt a lot of the end of the season, but he was technically still a rookie. But he was last season, at the end of last season. Maybe people start figuring him out. Garcia, who knows what happens with that? If it looks like they have a really bright future, and then
and
we'll just see
most all-stars.
Yeah, exactly, most all-stars, and we'll just see if ownership says, "Hey, we're great. We spent a bunch of money, we won a championship. Keep rolling with it," or if they double down and then go and get this team a better bullpen, maybe get another starting pitcher until DeGrom is back.
Yeah,
we'll see.
He's supposed to return late next year.
Yeah, I think that like best case is August. And then, of course, as you've seen with Scherzer, he's not going to be, I think best case he comes back in August, probably looks pretty spotty, pretty sketchy, and then maybe he's back to normal come playoffs if they're competing for a playoff spot next year, and that's assuming he doesn't get hurt again.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's very promising. I'm not really going into it worried, and I'm not really sure how I feel about that. They're different from the Cowboys, and they're different from from the Mavs, because I've seen them lose before. I have seen the Rangers lose before, but I feel like it was long ago enough. And obviously there's different players and different management and everything. I just feel like it just feels different. I feel like they can go in and just close it out. Not trying to get too high on anything, but if you would have told me, oh, they have 3 games to win one with 2 on the road, I would take that 100 out of 100 times.
Yeah, it's just surreal, and I'm trying to keep that level headed. Like don't get too big on it. I want to be excited. We have to say if they win, not when they win, because teams have done it before. Ask Cleveland Guardians now, but Cleveland Indian fans when they played the Cubs. When, man, I'd be really confident if we were playing the Cubs in the World Series, before they won that World Series a few years ago, thinking, hey, the curse is on our side. Speaking of which, because I know we talked about it, I haven't heard it much. That I can't remember the guy's name, but I know we talked about when we were talking about cursed teams, that the Rangers, when they moved from Washington, whoever it was, I think it was a writer, cursed the Rangers and said they're not going to win for 50 years. And I think this is like year 51. Yeah, this is like year 51, 72.
Yeah.
I guess it would be 52.
Bob something. What's his
I can't remember. I can't remember. Go back if you're watching this before the game starts. Go. It's called cursing the cursed teams or something.
Bob Short.
Yeah, it's the one right before the Madden curse episode we did.
Yeah, so this was in 1961. So yeah, okay.
61. Wow. You mean 71?
71.
Yeah. When they moved, so he said they wouldn't win for 50 years. I think this is year 52, but still, baseball curses in baseball just astound me. It's always like scary. Whether you believe in it or not, it's fun, but it's really eerie when you talk about baseball curses. Yeah. And we talked about the Red Sox and then how the Red Sox supposedly broke their curse, the kid living in Babe Ruth's house, and then the Cubs. It doesn't, even with the Madden curse, is kind of eerie, but other sports don't seem to have the same type
of curse.
The same type of because even if you don't believe in things like that, I mean, people believe in stuff one way or the other, and you're not saying it's a full-on curse, but something's fishy's going on there,
And then when the years line up and when everything kind of just
because he said, I mean, one way or the other, we believe it's a curse or not. It's kind of weird. You say 50 years, and then you're 51, 52, whatever. They moved in 72, so this would be 52 years.
Yeah,
that's
52,
that's pretty. Especially when we talked about it, we were joking around like, that's obviously not going to happen because the Rangers suck right now, or whatever. Give them a few years.
Yeah.
We were saying one more year, they might be a playoff contender. Maybe 2 or 3 if things go right.
I remember that vividly. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah,
it's kind of weird. I haven't heard anybody talk about it, and people have talked about that. I've heard it on the radio a little bit because that's kind of what was in my head, and I looked it up when we did that show. But either way, guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Sports Page. We'll get off here so you can jump over and watch the pregame show for the Rangers Diamondbacks Game 5 of the World Series. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page. If you don't like us, hit the like button twice. Share us with your friends. Do everything. Until next time, I'm Ashton.
I'm Chris. See you guys.
See you guys later.